Hello, beautiful souls. Welcome to today's YouTube video. My name is Jess. I am a transformational life coach, and I specialize in inner alchemy and energy mastery. In today's video, I will be going deep into the topic of ancestral trauma. In today's day and age, it is so important for us to understand what is ancestral healing, because what we are seeing right now play out in the collective is the manifestation of ancestral trauma that has been stored within us, and we have been passing these sequences, these patterns through each generation, and we are now at a turning point where we can no longer continue to reproduce the toxic patterns that have kept us in a cycle of suffering. So it's important for us to understand what is ancestral trauma and how it manifests, what are the symptoms, and how can we begin to heal so we no longer have to pass these traumas to the younger generations. And that is exactly what you will be learning in this video. So what is ancestral trauma? Ancestral trauma or intergenerational trauma is trauma that is passed down from generation to generation, and it affects the family's mental health. Intergenerational traumas can be inherited because there are changes in the DNA. And the DNA goes through changes, but it does not damage the actual DNA. What the changes do is that it actually changes the expression of the genetics. This is called epigenetics, and I'm going to read to you what is epigenetics. Epigenetics is a study of changes in organisms caused by modification of gene expression rather than alteration of the genetic code itself. How your behaviors and environment can cause changes that affect the way your genes express. Changes are reversible and do not change your DNA sequence, but they can change how your body reads a DNA sequence. So that is actually inherited patterns, and it begins in the womb, in our mother's womb, through in utero development. When we are going through our fetus development in our mother's womb, there we are absorbing everything in our mother's environment. We are one with our mother. Everything that she is thinking, what she is feeling, what energy she's around, what she's doing, working, everything, we are absorbing that. And that is rewiring our genetics. This is where we are then downloading these DNA sequences that when we are born, we grow up in our family's environment, and then we continue now to learn these behaviors through mimicking, through observation. And this is why we are here to wake up and realize how we are mirroring everything that we've learned from childhood that has been passed down through generations. And as we can realize patterns that are disruptive, that we came to this lifetime to heal, we can begin to reverse the traumatic imprints and heal. In 1966, Canadian psychiatrists began to notice that in children of Holocaust survivors, there was a large amount of children that were suffering from depression, from trauma, right? From mental illnesses. And this is when the term generational traumas were first acknowledged. And this is around the time when psychiatrists began to realize that this trauma being passed down through the in utero phase of development. So who is vulnerable to ancestral trauma? Well, everyone is, because we all have ancestors and we all share a common history on Earth, which is there's been a lot of wars, there's been a lot of suffering, there has been a lot of rape, a lot of colonization. If we study Earth's history, it's not gentle, it's not pretty. And this is why in today's day and age, so many people are feeling the call to truly heal their DNA. Because as a human species, we know that we can no longer continue to reproduce the same patterns that have caused so much suffering to the human species and the earth and all living beings. So as I mentioned, everyone is susceptible to generational traumas to some degree, but we see this more pronounced, and there are communities that are more vulnerable to ancestral trauma, and those are the communities that have a lot of history in the past with rape and with colonization. Some of the examples of these symptoms of ancestral trauma, for example, if you see patterns that repeat over and over in your family, for instance, when it comes to relationships, if there is domestic violence, or if divorce or family dysfunction is very common, that is all coming from ancestral trauma. When we suffer from mental illness, high anxiety, PTSD, that is also ancestral traumas. Addiction and internalized oppression, those are all symptoms of ancestral trauma. And the way that we begin to heal trauma is by becoming aware first, because we cannot heal anything without awareness. Awareness is key. So pay attention to the patterns that are playing out in your life that are very common themes in your family. You can observe certain behaviors that were learned that you can maybe realize that you are repeating, and then you see yourself repeating these patterns. Maybe this can be a lack of confidence, and maybe you feel like you will never be more than what you are now, right? There's a lot of people that have these blockages where they feel like they cannot succeed because everyone in their family has never succeeded, and therefore they stay small and they don't break those generational curses. Those are all signs that we need to break through these curses, and we can change that by understanding our patterns and understanding that we are not our parents. We have our own individual expression, and we can choose that. And the more that we actively participate in humanity, the more that we will be able to create change for the future generations, so they do not have to live what we've had to live, and we can create that change in a collective level. And just remember that all of the work that you do on yourself, when you are healing on a cellular level, you are creating ripples of change in your gene pool, and it is actually creating a big shift in the collective gene pool, because we are all relatives. So every time that you take personal responsibility, you are creating positive ripples of change. So can you imagine if every individual begins to heal their ancestral traumas? Our future is very bright. So I encourage you to continue on this path, and just know that trauma ends with you, and we can start a new lineage, a healed, integrated lineage that will create the biggest shift for the future. and it starts now. If you're feeling called to heal your DNA and you know that you came here to break these generational curses, feel free to book a consultation with me, and I would love to be able to guide you even deeper on your journey. If you like this video, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and share this video to someone that you feel that needs to hear this message. I will see you on the next video.